Hi, this is Swara Bhaskar, and you are in the right place because you're watching Bollywood Hungama. Do subscribe and hit the like button.
जिंदगी शेर की सवारी है या तो शेर तुम्हें खा जाएगा or you ride the beast. So that's one of the very popular dialogues from It's Not That Simple Season 2, the web series starring Swara Bhaskar. We have with us Swara Bhaskar back once again. Pleasure having you back.
Thank you. Always happy to be here.
I think आपके लिए बहुत apt है ये dialogue. जिंदगी शेर की सवारी या तो शेर तुम्हें खा जाएगा और you ride the beast. So अभी तो आप riding करेंगे. So, but you
मुझे तो ये
like
डायलॉग
living
बहुत
on the
डरावना
edge.
लगता है.
You like living on the edge.
Listen, it's मजबूरी का
those-
नाम महात्मा गांधी कहते हैं ना. तो मैं एज पे पहुंच गई हूँ. मेरी मंशा नहीं थी एज पे आने की.
जी.
मैं पहुंच गई एज पे.
Okay, so a very obvious question will be that Veer the Wedding came last year.
Yeah.
It did well. Your character was spoken about in a big way. Why is it that we are not hearing any announcements from you for movies?
Well, two reasons. Because, the thing is that for me, Veere ke baad, the way I'm looking at it is that my film trajectory is Nil Bate Sanata in 2016, Anarkali Avara in 2017, and Veere the Wedding in 2018. How do I top that in terms of my next film, either as a role, which is so amazing, that is beating the roles I've done in these three films, or a film that is so special that beats or tops these three films. Because I think for me, and in general, I think all these three films have been very special for Bollywood. All three of them have in their own ways done things that regularly we've not seen in Bollywood so far. They've been roles that you haven't typically seen heroines play. So I don't want to make a hurried decision. And everything I'm reading is seeming not, not worth what should be my next film announcement.
Right.
So that has been the reason that I've been very careful and very choosy. So I've instead spent this entire year, I've done 3 web series because there is a lot of interesting, exciting content happening there, and it doesn't exactly bear on my film work directly. But I think that very soon in the next 1 or 2 months, you're going to hear not 1 but 2 very exciting film-related announcements.
That'll be amazing. Okay, all right. And why is it that we don't really see you too often, maybe in these filmy parties? And these days, a lot of events are happening where film personalities are getting together. The museum was launched recently. So why is it that we don't see you?
I mean,
too
I go
often?
where I'm invited. Quite honestly. I mean, I think that I really do feel like an outsider in Bollywood. Like, I think I have a very strange situation where I feel like I'm both in the inside of Bollywood because as an actor, and I've done so many films, and I've been part of big films. I've made, I socially know all the big stars. Everyone's been very kind to me, I must say that. Someone like a Sonam or a Riya, they are close friends of mine. Anil sir's family has been very, very, kind. It's almost, I feel like this is somebody of my own. I recently asked Sonam's mother for advice on I was like, auntie, should I see an astrologer? Because my life में कुछ एक अजीब सी चीज हो रही है, which I tell you what is actually quite funny. So, I have that relationship with some people, quite a few people. ShahRukh sir has always been very kind to me. Salman sir's family has been very wonderful. And yet somehow I also feel like an outsider because I really sometimes feel that my personality is kind of not, a typical industry heroine kind of a personality. I don't know. I just feel quite at the fringes in some sense of the industry. So yeah, I feel a bit schizo like that, And so yeah, I mean, I go for the parties and the events where I know the people and whatever, and where I'm invited. And I don't go where I'm not invited, and some of them I'm very happy not to be invited to.
Okay. Now you're a highly educated person. Your parents have been highly educated. Your father is from Andhra, from Warrens, and your mom is from Bihari. So that this entire
National integration है मेरा.
National integration से ज़्यादा politics की समझ बहुत naturally आपको आती है. अगर बिहार से आप ताल्लुक है तो नसों में रगों में होता है. So we'll come to that later. But so say for example, if you're invited by Karan Johar for going to Delhi with this entire youth brigade and for getting a selfie with Mr. Modi, so would you have gone?
I don't think that, I really don't think that question or that choice will arise actually. Because I think that my politics are quite clear. And I think that even when people may not know who I support, I think it's quite clear what ideology I don't support. And I don't make any bones about it, because to me it's not about one individual person or one individual leader. Leaders come and go, politicians come and go, even prime ministers come and go, but thought processes stay forever. And the kind of, so I'm not so much concerned with individual politicians. I'm concerned with a larger politics of hatred and a larger politics of discrimination, which is being normalized in our country today. And that is something which is very dangerous, and that is something that has very, very deep seated consequences. See, this government or this one or two particular leaders may not be there after, say, 10 years, but that hatred that has been sown in our country, the people who have died due to cow-related lynchings, that Mohsin Sheikh, जिसका case अभी आया है, that Pune techie, who was the first lynching death in 2014 in June, he's never coming back. That Junaid, that boy who got lynched in a train in Ghaziabad or Faridabad to Delhi, he's never coming back. Akhlaq Khan is never coming back. Pehlu Khan is never coming back. That man who got burnt alive in Rajsamand in Rajasthan, he's never coming back. And the effect of their deaths and the fact that none of the perpetrators have actually been brought to book, that lack of accountability and that diminishing of our law and of our constitution, that's not going to go away. These are institutional damages to our law, to our institutions, to our to social relations on a daily basis. This is not going to go away. This fake news this epidemic of fake news, these WhatsApp rumors, which child lifting rumors, जिसमें धूले में one lady or two people got lynched to death, Assam में people got killed. This is not going to go away, right? This is a mentality you've unleashed, right? So now for me, that mentality is the larger problem, and this mentality is not new. This is the mentality that has killed Mahatma Gandhi. Like, let's not forget that, right? Like, who are the people who were celebrating when Mahatma Gandhi died?
Right. In fact, it is said that these things have happened before 2014 as well. I think
No,
statistically,
but no. Statistically,
there's a 97% increase
there is an
in
increase.
cow-related
Yes, there is a huge
attacks
increase
since 2014.
in 2000, and the number of, I was looking actually at this data a few months ago because I was going somewhere for a talk. Between 2008 and 2016, if you look at, or 17, if you look at the number of cow-related or lynching cases, after 14, 80% of them are after 2014.
Right.
See, data doesn't lie. You can, the people who are saying, oh, intolerance is on the rise, is on the rise, you can give them names, you can shut them up, you can make fun of them, you can call them award wapsi gang and whatever. But
टुकड़े gang.
टुकड़े gang, और मैं तो उसके, हाँ, मैं तो ऐसे ही ऑनरी मेंबर हूँ, पता नहीं क्यों, मैं तो थी भी नहीं वहाँ पे. But you can't, I mean, data doesn't lie, right? And this is not my data. This is the government organization's data. This is the national data on crime. So, जो लोग हमारे देश में आजकल बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग हैं जो बिल्कुल ही ब्लाइंडर्स पहन के आंख बंद करके अपने इर्द गिर्द की रियलिटी देखना नहीं चाहते. अभी क्या कह सकते हैं उनको?
I was watching the speech of Meryl Streep at Golden Globes a few days back once again, and so what I came across is that here's a lady who's highly well informed. She knows that who has come from where and what exactly is the history, and she has that empathy, she has that understanding in a big way. Do you find that lacking in the film industry, that in terms of awareness around us, what is happening?
Honestly,
do you think it's lacking?
I don't think there's any lack of awareness, Faridoon ji. I think the thing is that it's actually, I wonder if that's a fair comparison between actors in the USA and actors in India. Because the thing is, few things. One, in the US, as a society and institutionally and in law, their right to freedom of expression is protected. That's the First Amendment in their constitution, and they really value it. We don't have freedom of expression in India. This is a country where people are going to jail for Facebook posts. And not one case, but numerous cases. This is a country where people can be jailed if somebody thought a painting you made is obscene. So we don't have freedom of expression. We don't have a culture where we have actually quite the opposite culture. We have a culture where if you say something and my feelings are hurt, I can make up some case and put you in jail. That is the exact opposite of freedom of expression. So firstly, what we have in India is actually the exact opposite of freedom of expression. We have the freedom to have our sentiments hurt and then wreak whatever havoc we want. As we saw in the case of Padmavat, as we've seen in the case of, I mean, I'm sure, I'm surprised कि अभी तक कोई, I mean, actually, basically now you can't make a film, yeah, I think a historical in India without first, taking permission from all the various people who are represented randomly. The other thing I think is that actors are much better protected in the US. Their unions stand by them. Their media is a lot freer of government control. Our media is the structure in India of our media and the business model those media houses need access to government. In terms of advertising, where is money coming from for media houses? It's not coming from subscriptions, right? It's coming from advertising. It's coming from government advertising. Government is one of the biggest advertisers, especially for newspapers, right? And from these, आजकल नए leadership summit, business summit, economic forum, कौन आता है इसमें? Politicians आते हैं. So I think that media houses in India are tied so much to patronage from those people in power that actually it's very hard for them to take, independent stands and positions on anything. And that is a culture that then seeps down everywhere, right? Look at the film industry. When we create a film, we need clearance from the censor board, we need clearance from the animal welfare board, we need clearance from, somebody could start a protest, the court will ban the film, then what are you going to do? So, in this kind of an atmosphere, is it really possible for actors to actually voice their opinion and to actually say what they feel and to even question the government? They must be it must take a special kind of idiot to do that. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, look at what happened with Aamir sir and his comment on intolerance. Look at what happened with ShahRukh sir when he made one very minor comment on intolerance. His car got stoned in Gujarat during the shooting of Rais. Padmavat. I mean, there was no comment also there. You've gone and burned the set. You're threatening the actress. You're threatening to cut off the head of the director. I mean, there are people sitting with swords in the studios. Like, what is going on? Like, you've set fire to a bus that's carrying school children. Like, are you serious? And nobody's saying anything because elections are around the corner and there's a vote bank we don't want to harm. So in this kind of a culture, do you really blame actors for not speaking up? The bigger the star, the more known their whereabouts. Everyone knows where Salman sir, Shahrukh sir, Aamir sir, or any of the other actors live. Everyone knows their faces. Everyone knows where they're shooting. How easy is it to go and kind of create some kind of, disturbance, or even worse, do something even scarier?
Right. So Nasir Saab has spoken up, and
look at what happened to him.
Repeatedly. Yeah, but even after that, he came up with another statement. So obviously there was, I think, a very strict sort of response to it. But the fact is that the interview that he gave to Rajiv Sardesai after that, so he was defined, and when he was defined, so I think even the worst of trolls, they backed off in a big way as well. So one thing that comes to my mind is that Mr. Advani said during emergency that was regarding the media, that the media was asked to bend and they crawled. One can say that fine, you cannot voice your opinion, but why do you have to go out of the way to maybe show your allegiance?
I think when you create a culture of fear, and when you create a culture where you make it known that there will be, when you create a vindictive political culture, then even the most people want peace. They want to do their jobs and they want to lead a good life. Have your, go to work, come back, watch a film, chill with your family, chill with your friends, party a little bit. That's the life most people want. Most people don't feel strongly about political things, politics. Most people would rather be like, yeah, leave us alone. And which is why I think that when, we have to shake off our own apathy, and we have to get out of our own comfort zone to actually recognize that, what's happening around us is wrong. And sometimes it calls for, being ready to take some collateral damage. Maybe that's losing a couple of films, maybe that's facing the trolls. And yes, Nasir sir is the kind of person who's believe strongly enough to stand up for that. But there are people who don't. And there are people, and also, I think when you have so much at stake, when you have crores and hundreds of crores riding on films and all, you're just going to be like, bro, am I a businessman, or am I like a activist and a politician? I'm a businessman. My job is to protect my business interests. So I think in that sense, it's a very practical choice that people make, and I don't blame anyone, and I don't fault anyone. I just, yeah, I guess, to each his own. I just hope that it never comes in our country to the point where, it came in Germany, for example. I'm sure there were people in Germany in the 30s who were like, oh, it won't be so bad. Oh, it won't be so bad. It won't be so bad. And then, lo and behold, it's the end of the Second World War, and 6 million Jews are dead. I'm not trying to be alarmist, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but I'm just saying that hate and violence are like fire. When it starts, it comes to a point where you can't control it. And I really wish that, everyone in our country would wake up to that fact.
The locals in Germany, they had to suffer for many years. Maybe for no fault of their own.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, that, the amazing thing about history is that history keeps repeating itself, but we never learn from it. Somehow.
You said about the business aspect of it. I think it's very understandable that everyone have their families, and in many cases it's a business venture, and one has to make money, and all that is, I think, absolutely fine. It's very easy to comment, and to be in someone else's shoes is very difficult. But still, when one looks back, and when you look back at maybe someone like Guru Dutt or Bimal Roy, I think movies were maybe much more than for them than merely being business ventures, like Guru Dutt, for example. And he's still remembered as an artist. So,
I was reading this...
when you're in the present, you don't realize that how future is going to look at you.
Perhaps. I was reading this case of Majrooh Sultanpuri Sahab, and you'll know it very well because of your own father's sort of, his own legacy. But Majrooh Sahab was actually jailed for a year and a half, and I didn't even know this. So in 1949, he and Balraj Sahani, because they were members of the Progressive Writers Association, they were addressing a gathering of mill workers, and Majrooh Sahab was a communist, very statedly communist, and he had written a nazm which was against Jawaharlal Nehru, because Nehru, who was then the Prime Minister, had decided to join the Commonwealth. And Majrooh Sahab felt very strongly, like, why are you wasting money when there's so much bhukmari and, problems in India, and there's so much poverty? Why aren't you concentrating on our own country and you're going to other countries and whatever? Like, it was his point of view. And he wrote something, and in which he took Nehru's name and said, and called him Commonwealth ka dalal or something in that poem. And the last lines of the poem were, "Maar le sathi jaane na paye." And the then governor of Bombay, Morarji Desai, jailed Balraj Sahani Saab and Majrooh Saab. And they went underground and eventually they were jailed. And Balraj Sahani Saab eventually was released. And Majrooh Saab was asked to apologize because he's the one who'd written the poem. And he said, I'm not going to. And they said, you're going to be in jail. And he said, I don't care. I will not apologize because I stand by what I wrote. So he was in jail for a year and a half. And Raj Kapoor Saab, and they didn't have money to eat because he was the sole breadwinner of the family. And Raj Kapoor Saab was sending money home every month. And Majrooh Saab's son, Andaleep Sultanpuri ji, told me this story. And then I checked it up and I fact-checked it. And it's true. So I now am just thinking that, oh my God, this is the same industry where you've had an industry person who has gone to jail for a year and a half because he was just like, I will not apologize. I believe in this. And eventually the High Court had to release him and say that there is no case here. Right. And he was also charged on sedition, which is the same charge that so many people in our country are now threatened with. So I'm saying that, we actually forget our own past. And nobody in the industry disagreed. He came out and he, along with your father, for example, he was one of the most prolific lyricists of his time. I mean, till almost 2000, I think, right? So I'm like, that we have that side of our industry as well, And yeah, as you said, I mean, there have been people who have just believed in Naya Daur. I mean, look at that film. Or all the other names you took.
Always leader is there. So many of them.
So yeah, I think that in general our world has become very different. Everywhere in the world there is a legitimization of hatred. There is a legitimization of fear. there is a legitimization of a very parochial kind of politics कि हम अपने local leader को मतलब हम अपनी local identity को एकदम ऐसा बनाएंगे, हम कुछ नहीं देखेंगे कि उन्होंने क्या बुरी चीजें की, नहीं हम तो glorify करेंगे. अभी I think that's a phase that's happening around the world. So I think we are also in India also we are in that phase.
Right. In fact, Faiz Ahmad Faiz was in jail for I think more than 5 years, and that too in Pakistan, and he's continued to write.
Yes.
What he wrote, he wrote some really revolutionary stuff. You have a lot of people who have a deep respect for you.
I hope
who
so.
Support you. There are a lot of people.
Yeah,
who have
I think
a lot of respect for you.
I think that for me it's very strange because मुझे social media पे इतनी गालियाँ पड़ती हैं और सिर्फ गालियाँ ही पड़ती हैं. But जब मैं लोगों से मिलती हूँ in person, I've never heard one person say that you said a horrible thing or you're a bad person.
See,
or,
social media is very apparent that everyone knows about the IT cell and a lot of the trolling is paid trolling. So I think that a lot has been written by the Swati Chaturvedi has written about that in a book.
Yeah.
So I think a lot has already been said about that. But you're right. So there are a lot of people who have tremendous respect for you, not merely in India, but I think all across the world.
I mean, as I said, I think the problem is that social media पे शोर ज़्यादा है. It's like वो इसमें जिसमें झाग ज़्यादा हो, but actually कुछ हो नहीं वहाँ उसके पीछे, वो सिर्फ झाग है एक तरीके से. So I think it's that, but yes, I am very, very grateful because as I said that every single time I meet someone who says to me that, we really look up to you, or thank you for speaking out, or, we feel at least koi to bacha hai, I really take a lot of strength from that. And I really take a lot of strength from even that one single nice message on Facebook, or, more recently somebody sent me a message saying that, Swara, I just want you to know that I've had a daughter and I've named her after you. Wow. Because I hope that she's as fearless as you are. And I just thought to myself, and I was like, this one comment, I can spend 6 months of trolling and hate and abuse on social media just because I know there's this one genuine comment over there. So yeah, I think that the reality is actually sometimes quite different than what we hear on media and social media especially.
A lot of people would say that you're so hell-bent on activism and politics. Why is it that you don't concentrate on movies instead?
Again, I have a very split life on my social media also. My Twitter profile is almost fully political, and I think that's also because I only follow news media organizations or news channels or print media organizations, newsy organizations. A lot of journalists I follow, a lot of activists. I think I actually follow very few film-related people. I mean, you're one of them. There are a few actors I follow.
You don't follow me.
But I don't follow you. I follow you.
I follow you. You don't follow
me. I don't follow you. Oh shit, I should follow you right now.
That's okay. That's not.
But I keep saying, I know. What do you mean? I keep retweeting you. Of course I follow you.
No, someone maybe aapne kisi. But that is not the deal.
But anyway, so I follow very few people from the industry. So because I think Twitter is also an echo chamber. ना आप जिसको follow करोगे, आपको भी वही सुनाई पड़ेगा. आप वही retweet करोगे. So actually, a lot of my Twitter stuff is political, and now I find that if I post something non-political, वो इतनी गालियाँ आ जाती हैं कि मुझे तो किसी और को टैग करने से डर लगता है. I think we were discussing this last time also. So I actually never on Twitter say, oh, good luck, I've seen this trailer, great trailer, like Gully Boys, I love the trailer, I thought let me tag Ranveer and Zoya and all, and then I was like, you know what, गालियाँ ही पड़ेंगी उनको भी मेरे साथ में, तो मैं क्यों करूँ? So I've actually, my Twitter has become actually very, very it's almost like it's not an actor's Twitter profile. Whereas my Instagram, if you look at it, it is only full of आज मैं यहाँ गई, ये designer पहना, वो designer पहना. So I've got that bit of a split. And as far as I don't know why people say why don't you do film. I am constantly working. I've done 3 web series this year,
right.
And so many events and so many I've done so many ads and events and whatever. So I think it's just a question of what makes the most noise. And I think that because 2018 has been such a controversy-ridden year for me, like starting with the open letter and then this boycott, that placard, Kathua anti-rape placard that I held, and then that boycott Amazon, and then boycott V-Ready wedding, then that Swara Bhaskar is the real Prime Minister, wo bhi chala tha beech mein. Then some other nonsense, some couple of other random things I said which got misinterpreted. So I think that this year the most noise has happened on my Twitter only. So I'm also now like whatever.
Right. Okay. No, I'm sure that it must be tough.
मतलब मैं Twitter पे good morning post कर दूँ ना, या एक फूल की फोटो लगा दूँ, what a beautiful flower, वहाँ पे आ जाएंगे, उस पे भी गालियाँ. So and of course मेरे कुछ ऐसे, मैं हमेशा कहती हूँ ना, जैसे स्टार्स के ना फैन क्लब्स होते हैं जो शिद्दत से प्यार करते हैं, मेरे फैन हेटर्स होते हैं. जो शिद्दत से नफरत करते हैं मुझसे. तो मैं अगर कुछ फोटो, फूल की भी फोटो लगा दूँ ना, वो उस पर भी गालियाँ देना शुरू कर देंगे. एंड ऑफ कोर्स समहाउ जो टैलेंट है उनका, हर चीज दे लिंक बैक टू वाइब्रेटर सीन इन वीरे. मतलब वो तो मैं क्या बोलूं, अभी खास टैलेंट जो हमारे देश की जनता का है. आई डोंट नो, आई कीप टेलिंग रिया कि यू एंड आई हैव मिल के ना, वी हैव लाइक, अब नाउ एवरी अदर फिल्म हैज सच अ सीन इन इट, और वेब सीरीज आल्सो हैव इट. सो आई एम लाइक, हमने कोई एक रेवोल्यूशन शुरू कर दिया है. आई एम आल्सो लाइक मजरूह साहब, आई स्टैंड बाय व्हाट आई हैव रिटन.
No, that's okay.
इवन अगर जेल पहुंचना मेरे को, आई सीरियसली, आई एम नाउ, दिस जेल इज अ बिग वरी फॉर मी. आप लोग को 1949 और 51 में अच्छा लगता होगा, 2019 में बहुत चीज़ इधर होगी.
I don't think that'll happen. I don't think that'll happen. Okay, now you recently spoke about your Me Too experience as well. That there was this director and you faced some experience. What exactly happened?
No, I was actually really answering a question on a panel about Me Too, and what I was saying was कि हमारे कल्चर में हम इतना वो कॉमन है, और जेंडर डिस्क्रिमिनेशन और एक जो पावर डायनामिक है वो इतना कॉमन है कि वी डोंट इवन रिकॉग्नाइज व्हाट इज प्रेडेटरी बिहेवियर एट द वर्क प्लेस. क्योंकि हम आदी ही नहीं है, हम बचपन से आदी नहीं है. क्योंकि बचपन में भी जब कोई अगर स्कूल में टीचर हो जो बदतमीजी कर रहा है, जो इवन जब आप छोटे हैं जो ज्यादा आपको उठा रहा है गोद में, ज्यादा हग कर रहा है, ज्यादा वो कर रहा है, वी हैड टीचर्स लाइक दैट इन आवर स्कूल. और इफ देयर यूज्ड टू बी अ टीचर इन आवर स्कूल हु यूज्ड टू ट्राई एंड ऑलवेज लाइक टच द गर्ल्स का ब्रास स्ट्रैप, like in the, as if pretending to pack the back or whatever. And I remember complaining about that to my father, and my father coming to school, and I was 10 years old. And at that point, the person who was in charge in that junior school section called me, and she tried to tell me that, why did you tell your father? Why must you complain to your father? Like, you can tell me, and anyway, this teacher is also like your father. Why, he's just, you're misunderstanding. I'm 10 years old. Of course I'm going to tell my father or my mother. Like, what are you teaching a child? You're teaching a child to basically manage these things, so that later in her life, when something happens to her, what does she remember? Ki nahi, maybe I won't. You're teaching the child to doubt herself, so that later when something happens to her, what is she going to remember? She's going to remember, no, doubt yourself first, right? So that's what I meant. So what I was basically saying was that something that happened to me on a set in 2012 actually. And I had a director who was really harassing me and stalking me and sending me messages and landing up at my room drunk. And the thing with outdoor schedules is that you're basically alone. And I was like a new actor. It was like my second or third film. And I didn't have a personal staff. Like, I didn't have a boy, I didn't even have personal makeup staff. I was literally all alone. I didn't have security. I didn't have now I have like more protection. And if you're a young person, you're like, you're like literally, you're young, you're alone, and you have the director of the film who you should respect and who's sir, and you have 60 days of scared left, and he's drunk and he's like, can I, whatever, can I get a hug? And you manage at that moment because that's what our culture has taught you, and in your mind you're thinking, oh my God, oh, he's so pain, he's so irritating, oh, but you're never saying, oh my God, this is sexual harassment at the workplace. So that's what I'm talking about, that slip that we don't even recognize, we don't know what to name it when it's happening. Yeah. And then many years later, I was on a panel on some news channel and I heard somebody else talking, and suddenly I was sitting there and I was like, wait, oh my God, that what happened to me was sexual harassment in the workplace. I was lucky I got away. I escaped unharmed, nothing happened. I didn't, I managed it. But I'm like, the fact is that, yeah, there was sexual harassment in the workplace and it was not all right. I'm not talking about a very serious thing. Like, I'm not talking about the kind of Me Too experiences people have shared. It's a small thing. But I'm saying even a small thing, it shows you something about our society. So that's what I was basically talking about. And yeah, of course, now it's fine. It's done and dusted. And I confronted the director, actually. I told him.
You don't want to name the guy.
See, I'll tell you why I don't want to name him. Because there's no point. I don't know. I haven't really heard, from 2012 to 2019, that girl has now reached a place where I have some standing, some name, some niche. As you said, there's some people who respect me. I don't even know what that gentleman is doing anymore. I'm not in touch with him. I don't want to give him even 1 week of limelight on my name. I don't think that helps the cause. It just helps that man get some limelight. And you know what? I don't want to. I've heard his explanation and you misunderstood all this gaslighting. Mere ko ho gaya. I confronted him. I had that conversation with him. He chose to whatever. He had his own like random explanation. I don't want you to be interviewing him on my name. I don't want to give him that limelight. So, anyway, it's not like I don't think he's active even anymore. I don't know where he is. I don't know what he's doing. So why should I, on my name and on my platform, give him? I don't think he deserves it, right? But by telling the story, maybe there's a girl out there and there's some guy doing this to her, and at least in 2019 she can recognize that this is sexual harassment in the workplace, and maybe she'll confront that guy like I did,
Okay, so how do you look at the Me Too movement that has happened in India so far?
See, I think that at this stage it's been a very cathartic movement. It's about people kind of just वो एक होता है ना सबर का बांध टूट गया types. तो of course वो एक बहुत ही बड़ा सैलाब type का आया है और बहुत सारे नाम आए हैं and so on and so forth. And I think that these kind of things, they're never going to be nice. It's going to be messy. It's not a nice topic. It's very heartbreaking. Some of the names that have been taken are like, it really breaks your heart to hear those names. And but just because it breaks our heart doesn't mean that necessarily the girl is lying. I only feel that anonymous accounts shouldn't be encouraged, because I do feel that is it's I understand that girls feel scared, and you feel scared about your identity and all, but that there are so many doubters out there and there are so many haters out there कि आप अपना नाम भी नहीं डालोगे ना तो बहुत आसानी से आपको वो कर देंगे, डिसमिस कर देंगे लोग, जनता. बिकॉज जनता सबसे पहले, और जनता वो जो एक परसेप्शन है वो सबसे पहले आप पे ही डाउट कास्ट करेगी, पीड़िता पे या विक्टिम पे या जो कंप्लेनेंट है. And that's the unfortunate fact. We are not an empathetic society for these for victims. We are a very hostile society for complainants of sexual harassment. This is the fact.
Rapid fire with Swara Bhaskar. If you could ask following people a question, what would you ask them? Rahul Gandhi.
I'll ask him why he doesn't roll his sleeves up, because his sleeves are always down, and I feel that he should really that it'll fall much better. His clothes will fall much better if he rolls his sleeves up. That's what I would ask Rahul Gandhi.
If you could ask a question to Kanhaiya...
And I don't think he's Bappu. I would tell him that.
Okay. If you could ask a question to Kanhaiya Kumar.
Kanhaiya is a friend, and I would ask him to lagao the Azadi ka nara once again, because I think the energy with which he does it is just amazing.
Okay, if you could ask a question to Mr. Arvind Kejriwal.
I just ask him, sir, how are you so simple and so down to earth? And how is it that people attack you so easily? Like, where is your security?
Okay. If you could ask a question to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru if he was alive today.
Why did he unleash such violent military action in Telangana on the farmers who were protesting there in 1948? Because they were protesting for their lands and for zamindari to be abolished, which is exactly what the Congress government was doing at the center. So why did he unleash this really, really violent military action on the poorest people of this country? I'm sorry, I know it's a very blasphemous thing to say maybe, but I just read this in a book I was reading, and I couldn't believe it, because I really admire Pandit Nehru. As a politician, as a leader, as a statesman. And when I read this, I really felt heartbroken. He was a socialist.
Right.
And he was a man who believed in equality and who believed in the rights of the underprivileged. And yet he allowed this horrendous military action in Telangana.
Who's your favorite politician and why?
My favorite politician and why, I would say, is...
Alive or maybe not alive?
Alive. If it's not alive, then Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela. Because I think that the manner in which they... kind of could lead so many people and still stick to the values of non-violence is amazing, and never slip into this politics of hatred. I think that's huge. And if you tell me today, I really admire, on the basis of the work that is being done, I really admire Arvind Kejriwal and Manish Sisodia ji, because I'm from Delhi and I feel that they really are doing some very good work in Delhi.
Health and education.
Especially schools and mohalla clinics. I'm a big Barack Obama fan.
Okay.
Obama, I love him. I think that it is just amazing how that man handled himself, how he led that country, even though race is such a problem. He just became this amazing figure. And I love how even after he's not the president anymore, he hasn't been like, okay, chalo chutti. He's like there, he's actively there in his country, and he's trying to do something new. He's getting young people together. His wife, hugely inspiring woman, Michelle Obama. So I think I'm a big Obama fan, both the Obamas.
Okay, how would you react to, in one sentence, to following comments that you hear on social media, that you read on social media? स्वरा भास्कर, तुम पाकिस्तान चली जाओ, तुम्हारी जगह वहीं पर है.
अरे पाकिस्तान भी नहीं चाहता मुझे अभी, तो मेरे पास अभी कोई चॉइस नहीं है. जब तक कोई दूसरा देश नहीं मिलेगा, ये कमेंट आप मत, थिंक ऑफ अ थर्ड कंट्री एंड देन राइट द कमेंट.
स्वरा, तुम एक्टिंग छोड़कर पॉलिटिक्स में चली जाओ, कांग्रेस विल गिव यू अ टिकट.
आई डोंट नो अबाउट हु विल गिव मी अ टिकट, बट अभी मैं आई थिंक कुछ साल में मेरे पास है एक्टिंग करने के लिए.
ओके, वीरे दी वेडिंग जैसी फिल्म्स लड़कियों को बिगाड़ देती हैं, ये भारतीय सभ्यता के अगेंस्ट है.
देखिए, जब भारतीय सभ्यता को रेप जोक्स वाली फिल्में और स्टॉकिंग को रोमांस दिखाती हुई वाली फिल्मों से कुछ नहीं हुआ. मुझे नहीं लगता कि 4 लड़कियां थोड़ी शराब पी लें, थोड़ी सिगरेट पी लें और थोड़ी सेक्स की बातें कर ले तो कुछ खास होगा. एंड मे आई जस्ट रिमाइंड यू कि भारतीय सभ्यता जो है, हमारी पॉपुलेशन 1.3 बिलियन हो चुकी है. सो और ये वीरे दी वेडिंग के पहले था. तो आई डोंट थिंक कि वीरे दी वेडिंग से कोई खास असर पड़ रहा है किसी चीज पे.
ओके, इफ यू मीट गॉड एंड कुड मेक वन रिक्वेस्ट टू हिम, what would it be?
I'd say, God, please, can there just be, I don't know, can there be less hate in the world? Like, can you just make human beings less hateful as a race?
All right, if you can describe yourself in 3 words, please.
Hyper energetic, confident,
Okay.
and I'd say good at heart.
All right.
At the end of the day.
If you could, what would you change one thing about Bollywood?
I wish Bollywood could be more imaginative and with everything. Like, I wish they wouldn't. We think, I feel we in Bollywood think in boxes. Typecast actors, typecast films, formula films. I wish Bollywood would actually just break the various boxes that are in its imagination.
Okay, if you can change an event from history.
I can't answer this question.
Why?
Because it'll be taken wrong, but I really feel that one of the biggest tragedies of the subcontinent is the partition of India. I really believe that Indians and Pakistanis are basically one people. We were one culture. We are one. We belong to the same, like, family of humanity. And I think that the partition was. It's very unfortunate that it was born from hatred and from a politics of fear. And unfortunately, the worst happened, which is that there was this fake divide that was created, and then it's just become this political enmity, and it just goes on and on and on in different ways, even though there's so many examples to show that actually people on both sides are really friendly towards each other, and there's a lot of warmth, there's a lot of hospitality. Our problems are so similar, our humor is so similar, our trolling is so similar, as I know.
गालियां हैं similar.
हम एक ही लोग हैं यार, हमने बहुत ही fake boundary बना दी. The other historical tragedy is Palestine. Is the invasion of Palestine by Israel, and the creation and the forcible sort of taking away of the lands of the Palestinian people and the displacement of the Palestinians, the continuing occupation of Palestine, the wall that has been built, that is another politics of hatred that just doesn't end. So that is my second.
Okay, if you could put yourself in a Bollywood.
I can see hate coming from Israel also now. लेकिन वो हिब्रू में टाइप करते हैं तो मुझे समझ में नहीं आता, so I don't care.
If you could put yourself in a Bollywood classic movie.
I say Mughal-e-Azam.
Okay, as well.
I love that. As Anarkali.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
Anarkali
आरा में कर चुकी हूँ. मैं real Anarkali बनना चाहती हूँ. I love that film. I think it's one of our most. I don't think we've topped that in the historical genre.
All right. If you can put an end to something.
I would put an end to the lynching related to cow lynching and mob lynching that is happening in our country. I think there's no place for that in a civilized society.
Okay. If you could make someone mute.
Arnab Goswami.
Okay.
Listen, he deserves to be mute. It's okay.
Definitely. I think I knew the answer before.
बहुत noise pollution उन्होंने कर दिया इतने सालों में.
If you could change one thing about media.
I wish they'd get out of Godi. I wish the media would stop being a Godi media.
If you could meet a historical figure.
It has to be only one person.
We'll settle for one. If you have more, we can.
I would want to meet Bhagat Singh.
Interesting.
And I'd like to meet the writer George Eliot. She's my favorite writer.
Oh,
and she was a George Eliot. She was a woman. उनका pen name था George.
People confuse in T.S. Eliot and George Eliot.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, yes or no, following statements. Have you ever wanted to become a politician?
Not yet.
Have you
That's
ever...
not a yes, that's not a no. I'm leaving it open.
That's like a politician. That's like a politician. Have you ever left cinema hall midway?
Never.
Never in the
Never. Never. Worst of films that I can't bear, but I sit through them because I'm like, यार इतनी respect देनी चाहिए. मैं भी इसी industry में हूँ.
Wow. Have you ever refused a role offered to you and then regretted?
No. The only role that no, not really actually. I've never, because जो roles मैंने मना किए या नहीं मिले मुझे, actually मना तो कितने ही करे, but जो मेरे को नहीं मिले, मना भी किए, वो फिल्में इतनी गंदी निकली कि I was like, thank God बच गए.
Have you ever made someone deliberately cry?
Not deliberately, but I made my cousin cry in some family trip because she was behaving like a real brat, and I kind of yelled at her, and then she started crying out of anger. But she yelled back at me, so it was fine. I think I've once or twice I scolded my staff, and they started crying because they felt very upset. But yeah, I'm a real loser because मैं गुस्सा होकर पे sorry बोल देती हूँ 1 घंटे के अंदर, मैं खुद ही. जबकि मैं एक्चुअली मुझे लगता है मैं सही बात कह रही थी, लेकिन क्योंकि सामने वाला रो दिया तो फिर मैं सॉरी बोल दी. ये सोशलिज्म के और भी प्रॉब्लम है ना, ये तो घर के अंदर सोशलिज्म चल रहा है और टीम में सोशलिज्म चल रहा है. तो
following things, hot or not, politics.
Yeah, always hot. Boiling hot. Scalding.
Debates on news channels.
Not. I don't watch TV. I don't watch news.
Feminism.
Hot, always.
Elections.
Too many. Yeah, hot. But relevant, so क्या करें अभी वो तो we have to follow.
EVM.
Disaster.
So hot or not?
I mean,
not.
Yeah. It's a big mess. EVMs. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know whether one should believe it or is it a conspiracy theory. I'm not clear. Seems like a mess.
Okay. Sonam Kapoor.
Hot, always. Hot, sweet. She's like Chinese.
Social media trials.
Not.
Not.
And wrong. I'm saying even if the people I don't like, I don't feel that social media trial hona chahiye logon ka.
Alright, so as always, Swara Bhaskar, lovely talking to you. It's always a learning experience, and
he's so happy you're smiling because you know that you made me give answers to everything. You're going to create those small trailers, which is going to be all these like totally dramatic trailers. Abhi Syria se bhi trolling shuru hone wali hai meri.
ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. ऐसा nothing of that sort. We always get a very good response for your interviews, and so we shall present it nicely, so don't worry. Thank you so much, and all the best wishes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all we have from Bollywood Hungama. Keep on watching.
Hi, this is Swara Bhaskar, and you are in the right place because you're watching Bollywood Hungama. Do subscribe and hit the like button.